Hey, Rob from Border 42 here, and today we are going to be discussing Mario Puzo's The Godfather Coda, The Death of Michael Corleone. That's quite a title. Let's talk about it. Coppola has a very, very long history of doing this. He likes to re-edit and recut some of his past successes and even failures, like the Apocalypse Now final cut that came out recently and the Cotton Club Encore that also came out recently. I haven't actually seen Apocalypse Now final cut, but with this one, even though he hasn't cut a whole lot out, it does feel more focused, and it actually makes it feel a little separate from The Godfather's Part 1 and 2. It actually feels like a true coda in a way where it's almost like a separate piece. It's almost like oh yeah, this happened to Michael Corleone. I want to reiterate that this cut is not so different from the original movie that it's going to be like a completely new experience. I read a review of Part 3 that kind of put it in a new context for me, that said basically that by naming it Part 3, it gives it expectations that it could never reach, especially after you actually see the movie and you realize that Robert Duvall is not in it. By killing off the character of Tom Hagen, you get rid of a lot of the conscience of Michael, who really plays that part well in Part 2. When you also find out that Winona Ryder was supposed to play the part of Mary instead of Sofia Coppola, that's even more interesting. Apparently, Ryder was exhausted when she arrived to the set, and a doctor who examined her advised the producers to send her home. So they had to act quickly, and so Sofia jumped into the role. Now, I will say that this new cut really does nothing for any of the performances. So if you had a problem with Sofia Coppola before, you're likely to have a problem with her now. But it does feel like some of her performance has been cut down a little bit. Some of the scenes have been trimmed. It's strange too, because some scenes feel really, really truncated. But only 4 minutes total runtime was cut from the original version of Godfather Part 3. Technically, the movie is just as beautiful as it was back in the original version. The difference that I hear, and this could be me misremembering The Godfather Part 3, but the ADR, the automated dialogue replacement, which is dubbing basically, it seems a little off here. I don't know if things were tweaked to make audio, or to make the dialogue sound louder in some parts and quieter in others. It seems distracting to me this time, and I'm not sure if it's because I was so tuned into the movie or if it was always like that, but especially in some outside environments, it seems to be very, very evident in the way that things were cut and some things moved around. The movie is much more centered on Michael's redemption and his desire for redemption. It's something that's always been there, but again, maybe it's because I'm older, I'm wiser, I can see more, I don't know. But it just feels like the movie's more focused in this way. One of the things that I noticed, and it's very apparent if you've seen the original movie, some of the scenes are cut down in a way that it gives the whole film a faster pace. Now, I don't know if that's something that I really enjoy, I have to be honest, because the original movie, the way that it feels, the almost leisurely pace of it, it gives it a grand feeling, almost more of a realistic feel. And I don't know if that actually was the intention. I mean, you could definitely argue that The Godfather Part 3 in a lot of ways was almost an artifact of older style filmmaking. I mean, especially The Godfather 1 and 2 are not exactly fast paced, but there's an ease to the movie, or to the whole saga actually, that I've always really enjoyed. It's almost like I don't know, it's like a comforting bowl of macaroni and cheese. That doesn't make any sense, but I think you know what I'm saying. There's an ease to it. There's a comfort, comfortability that comes with it. So what do I think about this movie? Well, I think you really have to look at The Godfather Part 3 first, right? And overall, I think most people will agree. It's just not as good as Parts 1 and 2. It's just not, right? There are issues with the movie. I mean, Sofia Coppola is probably the biggest glaring issue. Look, I respect the fact that Coppola had something that he had to do. He had to replace this actress. He modeled the character of Mary off of her. So of course it makes sense. Just put her in the movie. The problem is you can tell there's just not a polish in the way that she acts and the way that she speaks. It's distracting, and it pulls you out of the movie sometimes because she's just not that great. But then you've got Andy Garcia. Andy Garcia is amazing in the movie. Joe Mantegna is amazing. Al Pacino gives one of his, I mean, I'm just going to say it. I think it's one of his best performances. I love him in this role, and I love him in this movie. The problem is the movie itself in a lot of ways too, you know? The whole idea of immobiliari and all that stuff, and oh, Michael wants to be legitimate, so it's this big international thing now, and it kind of takes away from the intrigue of the Godfather family. You know what I mean? The Corleones. You know what I mean? So it's still not the best one. Now this, like I said, I feel like this is almost like it's like a remix. It's like a remix of a song that you've liked for a long time. It's not really better. It's just different. It's a different feel, right? Or it's like seeing. It's almost like seeing a live concert. You know, the songs aren't going to be 100% reproduced. They can't be. It's live. People change. Voices change. Instruments change. The sound travels differently in a venue versus when it's recorded. All of those things change. But you would never say, well, I guess some people would say that they enjoy the live version better than the recorded version, but for the most part, it's different. It's not better. It's just different. So, if I give The Godfather Part 3 a 3.25 out of 4 stars, what would I give Coda? I'd probably give it like a 3 out of 4. I feel like if you're a fan of the Godfather saga, you're going to like it. It's not going to be that much different. But I think maybe that mileage may vary. A lot of people may look at this and say, it's not different enough to warrant me buying another version of the movie. I think for Godfather completionists, well, yes. I mean, you probably already own it. So there you go. Look, the story of American Zoetrope is pretty well known if you're a film fan. I mean, you've got, you know, Francis Ford Coppola, George Lucas, Walter Murch, Brian De Palma, Martin Scorsese. I mean, I love these guys. You know, this is film history here, right? So of course I'm going to pick this up. Of course I'm going to like it. But what about you? You think you're going to get this? You think you're going to, give it a rent maybe? Or maybe you're a Godfather fan and yeah, you had it pre-ordered from the beginning. Let me know down in the comments section below and we'll discuss it. And if you like this video, please consider hitting that like button. It does help. And if you're new, hit subscribe because we've got so much more coming. So thank you so much for watching and we'll see you next time.